The NBA's most valuable player is an award only given to the best of the best. It's only given to players that dominated the league, that led their team to success, and had the biggest overall impact on the game given their position. Well, even though these 12 players shared a lot of those traits, in their best seasons they never won the award for whatever reason. And over the years, some of these have been pretty controversial, so let's see. Starting first with Chris Paul, who it's kind of shocking how he's never won one. He's made every single team he's played for better, and pretty instantly at that. I mean, we're talking about the guy that led the Oklahoma City Thunder to the playoffs a couple of years ago, and then they went 22-50 the next year without him, and have been on that same pace ever since. The guy that brought the Phoenix Suns from a 34-39 record to the NBA Finals with the addition of him. He just brings something to the team that every MVP should, and he's actually come pretty close to becoming one on a few occasions, with him finishing in top 5 for MVP voting 3 separate times. In 2013, he finished 4th, 3rd in 2012, and 2nd back in 2008 when he played in New Orleans. And that year for him was something special. He only lost out to Kobe Bryant in what was Kobe's only ever time winning the MVP. But in that year, Chris made a strong argument, bringing the then Hornets to a 56-26 record, which is the franchise's only ever 50-win season. And he did so by elevating his teammates and averaging 21 points, 11 assists, 4 rebounds, and 2.7 steals a game. I do get why Chris was never officially named the most valuable player of the league, but looking back at his career should still always make you wonder how it was possible. For a while now, when healthy, Kawhi Leonard has been one of the best players in the world on both ends of the floor. He's one of the best two-way players the game has to offer, but has rarely ever been really considered for league MVP. It's an odd concept, but one that actually makes a lot of sense. In the first 4 years of his career, he was overshadowed by the Spurs' Big Three, and even though he won the Finals MVP in 2014, he was more of a role player, and the award was given to him in a very similar manner to which Andre Iguodala won his. And even after Kawhi became a star in San Antonio, they were such a quiet team in the regular season that it was tough for him to get the recognition he deserved. And that's how he's played ever since. He kind of cruises through the regular season and really turns it on once the playoffs come around. Like in 2019, for example, the Raptors won the title that year, but Kawhi was only 9th in the regular season MVP voting. Overall, his highest position in voting was back in 2017 when he came in 3rd place, for averaging 25 points a game and leading the Spurs to 61 wins, losing out only to Russell Westbrook, who averaged a 30-point triple-double, and James Harden, who nearly did the same. But again, at this point, I think San Antonio and Greg Popovich had such a reputation for having a winning system and being a winning coach that Kawhi didn't get the credit he deserved. Out of current players, Luka Doncic is easily the best to have never won an award, and obviously he still has a ton of time to make it happen. He's even my pick to actually win it this season, but for now I still have to include him, and it's crazy. He's played 4 full seasons in the league, and he's already finished top 6 in MVP voting in 3 of them. He's only 23 years old and he's just getting better every year, so right now I think he belongs on this list, but I'm betting that he's guaranteed to win at least a couple most valuable player awards before it's all said and done. Dwight Howard wasn't so lucky though. He had a Hall of Fame career for Orlando but has 0 MVPs to show for it. Now, for as dominant as he was offensive and defensively, there was only a 5-year stretch where he had a real chance to win one, and that was between 2007 and 2012, where he finished top 5 in most of those years. And it's interesting, in the year his team had their best ever record and made the NBA Finals, he was only 4th in voting behind LeBron James, Kobe Bryant, and Dwayne Wade, which isn't bad company to lose out to. The year where he came closest though, where he put up his overall best stats from top to bottom, saw him finish in 2nd place, but lost out to a 22-year-old Derrick Rose. And it wasn't even close. Derrick had 113 first place votes, while Dwight had 3. And if you watched that season, you'd agree that Rose was unstoppable that year. In terms of current day players, some people would include Joel Embiid as well because of the idea that he's an unstoppable center. And while I could agree, I firmly believe that he'll never win an MVP in his career. So yeah, I guess he'll always deserve to be on this list. With all the competition for this award the league's got going on now, and all the up-and-comers that are already as good as they are, there's just no situation where Joel wins one, especially with the fact that he's playing at the same time as Nikola Jokic and they're about the same age. Listen, if a center's gonna win the award any year, it's gonna be Jokic. I mean, if Joel didn't win it last year when he was the scoring leader, shot 37% from 3 and averaged 30 and 11, then it's just not happening. He's just never gonna stay healthy enough to make it happen either. The man's never played 70 games in a season, while Jokic's style keeps him pretty injury-free. For this next one, we have to take things back, and actually way back to Jerry West. Now, Jerry was one of the greatest point guards of all time. That's not up for debate. He averaged over 25 points in 11 out of his 14 seasons in the NBA, and he could do it all, well, except win an MVP or an NBA Finals. He's infamously known for having a 1-9 Finals record, but him coming up short didn't stop there, because he actually came top 5 in MVP voting 9 times in his career, but never won it. As a matter of fact, he came in 2nd place for it 4 separate times and 3rd place once, which is pretty sad, but when you're losing out to guys like Bill Russell, Oscar Robertson, Wilt Chamberlain, Willis Reed and Kareem twice, I guess you can't really complain. He barely ever won a ring because of the talent he played against and missed out on winning an MVP for the very same reason. So West may be the most robbed NBA player of all time. Now these days, Anthony Davis is rarely taken seriously. He used to be talked about as the best big man in the league, but now he's so far away from that ever since he won a championship. But if we go back to his prime days on the Pelicans, a lot of people would consider AD one of the most talented players to never win an MVP award. Across all 5 stats, points, assists, rebounds, steals, and blocks, for a time, Davis was considered to be the most gifted player in terms of being able to do all 5. But I don't think he was ever seriously considered due to his teams always being so bad. With that said though, there was one exception, and that was that half-season DeMarcus Cousins was on the team before he got injured. The Pelicans finished with 48 wins, and Davis finished 3rd in MVP voting. Listen, personally, I think this was when he was at the top of his game, and I mean, if Cousins never gets injured here, then maybe Davis gets more credit for that season, and they'd probably be a really good team for years to come. But thanks to that and injuries of his own, ever since then, he's kind of fallen off. Jason Kidd's a player similar to Chris Paul that after looking back at everything he did, it's kind of shocking that he never won a league MVP. I mean, like, thanks to there being bigger names and more popular players on better teams, Jason kind of got forgotten about when it comes to a lot of these talks. He just made every single team he was on so much better. Even as a rookie for the Mavericks, the year before him, they were 13-69, and just bringing him in as a rookie with few other changes, he helps them to a 36-46 record. He helped the Phoenix Suns to 16 more wins with him going from 40-42 to 56-26 after his arrival, and then came his time on the New Jersey Nets in 2002. You see, the 2002 MVP award originally went to Tim Duncan, and you see, it's pretty hard to make an argument against him. He put up 25, 12, and 2 and led his team to the 2nd best record in the league, while only having 2 other players on the team that even averaged over 10 points a game, and they just barely did that. But then on the other hand, you have Jason Kidd and the Nets. Now in 2001, the Nets were being led by Stephon Marbury, and he helped them to a 26-56 record. So in that offseason, he was traded for Jason Kidd, who in the very next year doubled their win total, gave them the best record in the Eastern Conference, elevated both Kenyon Martin and Richard Jefferson into being household names, and made the NBA Finals. Well, let's be honest, the rest of this Nets team wasn't all that great. If he could do that to the Nets though, imagine what he could have done to any other team, and it's hard to argue that the 2002 award shouldn't have been Kidd's. For as talented as Dwayne Wade was and some of the years that he had, you would think he'd have at least one MVP award, but he never got one. And he's without a doubt one of the best to never be at the right place at the right time to be able to win one. His solo championship year was only his 3rd year in the NBA, and Steve Nash won that MVP, so it was hard to argue. While the best year of D-Wade's career was 2009, when he averaged 30 points, 7 assists, and 5 rebounds a game. Sure, Kobe and LeBron were dominating at the time, but one could argue that Wade had the best overall season that year. But either way, he didn't win the award because that went to LeBron, and it makes sense. Wade averaged much better stats in almost every single category, but the fact that James' Cavs finished with 66 wins, which was 23 more than the Heat had that year, meant that James easily took it. You know, maybe if these two never teamed up, he would have had a better chance, but then again, Wade's knee injury kinda did take a lot out of him after that. Now, going way back to Isaiah Thomas, he without a doubt deserves a mention here, and this one's interesting. It may be one of the most shocking non-MVP winners out there. The years in debate for Isaiah were the 89 and 90 seasons. Now, up until this point, he had established himself as one of the best point guards in the game, putting up 20 and 10 in almost every year he played. So fast forward to the 89 season. Now, the Bad Boys Pistons are fully assembled here, and Chuck Daly and Isaiah Thomas led this group of misfits to the best record in the NBA at 63 and 19. But instead, Magic Johnson, who was playing with an all-out star lineup, wins the MVP, while Isaiah only finished 17th in MVP voting, and would go on to prove everyone wrong by sweeping Larry Bird and the Celtics in the playoffs, beating Michael Jordan's Bulls, then sweeping Magic and the Lakers in the finals. And even though he was now a champion the next year, it was still pretty much the same thing, with Magic winning it, Isaiah coming in 13th in MVP voting, and the Pistons winning the championship. I know it's because the Pistons were maybe using more of a full team effort, and that the media hated them because they were dirty, but it's strange to see that this all played out, and Isaiah Thomas never even came close to winning it. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed, and I'm out.